Welcome to the Coriolis Effect with Cory Oliver.
Hi guys, I'm Cory Oliver. Thanks for watching the Coriolis Effect. Please hit the subscribe button below, and we hope you like this episode. Hi guys, we wanted to announce that like many podcasters, we just started a Patreon account. Visit our page at patreon.com/the Coriolis Effect. We have 5 different levels of membership and offer early access to episodes, behind-the-scenes footage, bonus episodes, shoutouts, and much more, including personal phone calls, questions and answer sessions, and live chats with Bob and me. That's patreon.com/the Coriolis Effect.
This episode is sponsored by Military True Crime Addict, which can be found on any podcast platform as well as at militarytruecrimeaddict.com. If you are searching for a podcast about crime relating to actual life events of military personnel, veterans, family members, and those associated with the military in any way, then you've come to the right place. Military True Crime Addict explores a plethora of actual true crime stories that have not been reported by news outlets or media. Stories that, upon hearing, will astound you. Historical events that should have been told and reported upon long ago. There are detailed stories that touch on topics such as assault and battery, harassment, abuse of power, murder, hazing, sexual assault, and other stories that in some way relate to our military, veterans, and their extended families. Military True Crime Addict provides a voice for the victims and tells their side of the story. It will raise awareness of heinous crimes and those most impacted by those crimes. You do not need to know anything about the military to enjoy this podcast. You can hear original true crime stories with the specifics of what occurred. That's Military True Crime Stories.
Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Cory. How are you?
I'm really doing well. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Okay, well, before you go on as to
Before
why
I
you
haven't done anything yet.
I just have to say I have a lot to talk about today. First thing I want to talk about is I know I missed your birthday on camera, and I apologize.
Missed my birthday the whole day. You missed it.
I did.
And the day after.
Okay. I'm so sorry.
And today is, I think, the last of the 37 days of Irina's birthday.
Well,
God.
I know. She's so beautiful.
She wants 12 days of birthday.
Yeah, of course.
I said, why don't you go 182 before, 182 after,
You
and you
should
get the
have
whole year.
365
Or 4.
days
No,
before.
one day's mine.
Yeah.
And then she can have...
Exactly. Your birthday is yours.
She said, it's my birthday. Your birthday was 11 days ago. I still have 1 day left.
I love her. By the way, I did, however, bring you and her, because your birthdays are in the same
You did.
2 weeks, a cake to your show, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah, that cake lasted maybe 5 minutes after the
your
show.
show.
Everybody came in.
Which I can't wait to talk about. I have the most epic photo of you in a wig. But I did, however, wanted to bring you this little chocolate-covered wafer cookie. It's a peanut butter filling cookie. I'm not getting paid to promote this, but they're at Trader Joe's, and honestly, it is the best. So happy birthday
Thank
to you.
It's throw it over. It's wafer thin.
It's a wafer thin, yes.
I couldn't eat another bite.
You know what? That's funny.
And most of the audience does not know where that's from. If anybody know where that's from, I was going to say if anybody knows where that's from, comment in, but well, it's okay because you were beeped out.
Oh. Well,
So if you know where couldn't eat another bite, it's only a wafer thin.
it's a
text us.
wafer,
Or
but it's
comment.
really good, and I just wanted to,
thank
again,
you.
extend your birthday another day.
Thank
So you're
I
welcome.
got you a pre-birthday gift.
I know, and I'm actually really excited. You know, we had Anita Pointer and her brother Fritz Pointer on the show, and my book has arrived, Fairy Tale. And so I will be definitely perusing that. Ooh, it
Yeah,
has
a
a
lot
lot
of
of great
pictures, yes.
photos in it. Wow. I bet some of these are never seen before. So it's definitely a great read, and I encourage you all to get a copy of Fairy Tale by Anita Pointer again. This is
Fritz
not
Pointer.
Anita and Fritz Pointer with Dave Smitherman. So, okay. So let's talk about.
You've been waiting all week for this.
I've been waiting all week for this. Bob invited me to one of his tribute band shows, and it is a Cars tribute band. And might I say, before we go into any of the harassment on
Which
his
is
behalf,
forthcoming.
you guys are fantastic.
Why, thank you.
Like, you really are fantastic, and so much so that the owner of the club gave you guys a sign that said you can play longer because you were just that great.
Yeah, that's the first time we've ever had that. It was actually the sound man, but the owner's Lance Sterling is a great guy, and his wife Karen. But normally when you play, you get this 5 minutes because they have something else to go on.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And so this guy came up, and we had done the Cars stuff. I think we were starting to do some dance songs or whatever. And he puts up the sign. Now, Will's a singer. We always end with Sweet Caroline.
Yeah. Oh, one of
so
my
we
faves.
had like 2 or 3 songs left, and we figured, okay, we got 5 minutes left. What do we look down? And it said, I'll put it on the screen. It said something like, "You guys can keep playing."
You can play longer, yeah.
Yeah, and it's the first time we've ever gotten that, or any band's ever gotten that, because they just, they don't. And we just played another 6 or 8 songs. So
Wait, you guys were tight.
Thank you.
I mean, it's almost like you practice every day, and I realize you don't.
That's a band that never rehearses.
Yeah, it's a band that never rehearses, but obviously you guys are just, every
We've
single
been
one of you.
together for 6-8 years.
Right. And you played Cars, you played Tom Petty, you played Nirvana, you played them all, and Neil Diamond, who's one of my favorites. But one of your friends got this shot, and it was just so good. I have to share. So I don't know if you can see that or zoom in on it, but I'll send it to you so you can put it there, or it's on the screen.
Your screen went dark.
It's probably in front of me.
Your screen went dark when you did that. That was God's way of protecting me.
Oh, right here. There you go. It was an epic photo, and you guys really killed it.
Well, thank you.
I'm impressed on a whole new level for you, Bob.
See, I keep inviting you to the shows. You always had something else to do.
Well, usually most of them are like
2 hours away.
I don't know, but I was going to say 4 or 5. But this was only like 15 minutes from my house, not even.
No, like 5. Yeah, it's right in
Yeah,
Aurora.
so it was really close, and I had a great time.
Oh, thank you.
And by the way, they were COVID friendly. I mean, they really had, like, on the dance floor, they had little circles that you had to stay 6 feet apart, more than 6 feet apart.
And one side was for people who were vaccinated,
Yeah.
one side if you weren't
Yeah,
vaccinated.
it was kind of strange. Don't get me started on that, but yeah, I had a really good time. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We brought the cake back. Cory got us this huge cake, because my wife's and my birthday are about 2 weeks apart. And we put it in the green room. We went and did the show, and then we went back, and there were
I have a
about
picture of that.
6 or 8 people, and we went through that cake like nobody's business.
Yeah,
I mean,
here it is.
Yeah,
Here's the end result.
it was gone very quickly. So then we got a last-minute show on Sunday at a place called Cook's Corner, which is like a biker's bar. It's really, really cool.
Oh,
I'll send
how
you some
fun.
pictures of it. And we were supposed to play outside from 12 to 5, which means I had to, in this case, I had to bring the sound equipment to the PA. So I brought that. I had to get there at like 10:30. So I leave my house at like 9 and got there at 10:30, 11 o'clock. We played, and then they said, keep playing. So we played till 6. Then you break down. I got home at like 8:45. So it was literally a 12-hour day. And I was talking to Irina, and she said, "What'd you make?" I said, "Well, we each made about $30 in tips, and I made about $100, $110. She goes, "You make more money Uber driving." He said, "Yeah." So now
not
to the whole
about
last
that.
week, she said, "How's the podcast doing?" I said, "We're doing good. We're starting to make money." Because you'd still make more Uber driving. So
Not necessarily. We have a lot
Not
of
yet,
sponsors
yes.
that are like,
we do. We're getting there.
I
said.
know. It's really
So-
nice.
So my comment was, and this comes back from my father. I was about 13 or 14, and my father's big thing was new business is new business. You stop whatever you're doing. You always take the client. So I was 13 or 14. I answered the phone. Okay. And my dad was sleeping. He wakes up and said, "Who was that?" I said, "Oh, some new client or something called." "What was his name?" "I don't remember." "What was his number?" I don't remember. My dad was like, he was ready. My dad's very heavy-handed. He didn't hit me, but he was about to kill me. He spent about 2 hours calling almost every other lawyer he knows to see who sent him the referral. And they finally tracked the guy down, and he got the client, and actually, the client hired him, and he took the case. It was like one of the biggest cases of my father's career.
Wow.
And all I remember is about 3 or 4 years later, my dad settled the case into the 7 figures, and which means he got a paycheck into the very high 6 figures. And he looked at me. He said, "You're my son. You will not see a dime of this." I said, "I will spend you." I'm not saying I'm not going to give you money. I'm saying I'm not going to give you any of this money.
Because you
So-
didn't write
because
down the name and number.
I could have lost him over almost a 7-figure payday because I didn't. The guy could have gone to some other lawyer.
Wow.
And that's when I learned that new business is new business. You stop everything. So, and I've had old secretaries do that, where I was on my first honeymoon and I called in my secretary. She said, "Oh, somebody new client called, but you weren't here, so I gave it to another. I sent it over to another attorney." And it took me, on my first day of my first honeymoon, I spent like 5 hours looking for that client, found the client. It was a medical malpractice case, signed it up, and that was a very lucrative case for me. And that secretary didn't last more than 2 weeks. But it was like, you never turn away new business.
I mean, the moral of that story is to always take the phone call.
Yes.
And honestly, so much, and especially kind of, I don't know why in the entertainment industry, everybody thinks that they're really so important. And they are, not minimalizing that, but a lot of people won't take your calls.
Right.
And you just don't know what's on the other end of that phone call, whether it's a divine appointment or it's a work or it's a new friendship. I'm always like, it's good to take the call. It's good to just see.
The three biggest cases I had in my practice were clients that I hated. I mean, I hated them the day long, but I always took the phone call. And people would say, why do you deal with it? You never know who's got a friend who gets into the $1 million accident when you started doing like personal injury and stuff, or you never know who's the guy whose friend is just starting the next Google and you could be on the ground floor of that. You never turn down those calls. It's crazy.
Or who you might need to pray for.
Right.
You
and
never
as my
know.
wife says, I should go Uber drive.
Oh, maybe we could do a whole I have a good idea.
What's that?
We could do like a whole karaoke episode in the car.
Hasn't that been done?
No.
Isn't there somebody who sings in a car?
No, that's James Corbin. No.
You roll it. He's like James Corbin.
Yeah, is that his name? I love you, James. I'd go in the car and sing with you anytime.
He's an
I keep
amazing
waiting for
singer.
you to come to my front door, but I have not seen you yet. And by the way, I have 6 microphones. There are...
Yeah, for our audience, Cory always has a karaoke mic in her purse.
Yeah.
So you'll be out and somebody say karaoke. Oh, and she reaches in, pulls out this thing where you push a button and it plays on your iPhone and stuff.
My daughter and I karaoke'd for like 2 hours on Mother's Day.
They do?
Just around the kitchen island. We just had a blast. Some of the words to her, some of the songs she was listening to, I was like...
Yeah.
But, nonetheless, we had such a good time.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was wonderful. That's
Right.
my love tank is full.
So other than that, how was your weekend?
I had a great weekend. I had my child here, and so...
Who's our guest today?
Today is Dave Bray.
And David Bray is?
Oh my gosh, what is he not? He's actually one fine human being. He is a rock and roll patriot, U.S. veteran and musician. He served in the Navy. He dedicated much of his career to honoring veterans, active duty military. He served as the FMF corpsman, I think that's what it is, for the USMC sniper teams.
Wow. Do you know what FMF stands for?
No, can you tell me?
I wish I could.
Yeah. Well, you know what? He's so impressive, and I
wanna
saw
say
him.
Field Marshal Fighter. No.
We'll ask him. We'll definitely ask him. I should know that, but he's really amazing, and he's just a patriot through and through. And I actually saw him on Instagram and reached out, and I'm grateful that he is going to be here today because we have a lot of questions and a lot in common. So that's who's on the show today.
I can't wait to meet him. Yeah. All right. Thank you for the wafer cookie.
No, it's a wafer thin.
Wafer?
A wafer is, we're not sure if, I'm sure that's along
wafer,
the same lines as inflammated.
Wouldn't wafer be WAIFER? Wafer? Like wave?
I got so many DMs about that for you.
Oh, about my...
People were doubled over.
As my father always used to say, plug and eyes. I said, plug's the word. No, you plug and eyes it. So you make up words all the time.
Actually, inflammated is not a word. It's inflammation.
Inflammatory.
Inflammatory is a word?
Inflammatory.
Sure. Inflammatory is a word. Inflammation is a word.
Did I say inflammated?
Yeah.
I said
Ooh.
If you keep using it. Okay, don't say ooh when you drink the sponsor's water. It was ooh because it was too cold or what?
No. I sometimes put my gum in my cap, and so I opened it up and I was like, why does that kind of minty? But then I realized
Your gum.
Well, we already know that.
Sorry, Aqua 9 Plus.
No,
All right.
I love that.
We will see you in a few minutes.
Okay. Shieldsofstrength.com was created by Kenny Vaughn. Kenny loves to keep God and country close to your heart by wearing Shields of Strength American flag dog tags. These attractive pieces of Christian jewelry are available in a range of styles and shapes, and some have enamel detailing to bring vibrant colors to the stars and stripes motif. Each dog tag necklace features an engraved scripture to bring strength and comfort to the wearer, making it an excellent gift idea for police officers, soldiers, and firefighters who face adversity in the call of duty, or anyone with a strong sense of patriotism. Stainless steel American flag necklaces and dog tags are easy to clean, are stylish enough for wearing with any outfit, and are the perfect way to express love for your country and unshakable faith in God. Shieldsofstrength.com has a variety of cross necklaces, books, apparels, accessory, Mother's Day gifts, fitness, even gift certificates. Shop shieldsofstrength.com.
Okay, let's start the show.
Okay, yes, let's start the show. Good
What was that
morning.
little hand gesture you had
Good
there?
morning. Good morning. And today I actually have a very special guest, which I know they're all special to me, but
But this one is super extra duper special.
well, I've been following him for a long time on Instagram, and
She
I am
said
a
very.
big,
I mean, she said very. Yeah.
I
Very
did. Thank
special.
you. Thank you.
Oh, look, you got somebody sticking up for you.
I know, right? I know. I just met him too. How wonderful. But I am truly excited for many reasons. Look at Dave. We have Dave Bray, who is that's right. He's a rock and roll patriot, a U.S. veteran and musician, Navy veteran, dedicated much of his career to honoring veterans, active duty military. Served as an FMF, which I'm going to find out what that is, corpsman for the USMC sniper teams.
Okay, first of all, corpsman, not corpsman.
Corpsman, yes. And has
Corpsman is a whole
yes, I know,
different thing.
I'm terrible. And Dave has shared the stage with, listen to this, Aerosmith, Leonard Skinner, Ted Nugent, Kansas, Charlie Daniels, Brantley Gilbert, Hank Williams Jr., Trace Adkins, Toby Keith, and the list goes on.
Okay, out of all those, Kansas is an amazing...
Right?
Yeah.
But Dave Bray is amazing. And welcome, first of all, Mr. Bray.
Good. Thank you very much, Cory. Thank you for having me on, guys. Bob, I appreciate. Is it Bob? Right? Offstage.
It is Bob, yes.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Bob,
offstage.
for correcting her for the corpsman thing. There are definitely two different entities. If I don't do my job as one, the other is inevitable, unfortunately.
Yes. Well, I have been following you / stalking you on Instagram, social media for a very long time. I have, and I'm just so impressed with all that you do for us, and your patriotism goes above and beyond. And as a member of the Boot Campaign, which serves our U.S. Veterans as well, I thank you for your service, and that has gone above and beyond. You've carried it onto the stage now in your music, and I just listened to your song Last Call, and I watched the video.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yes.
I actually asked Bob, I said, can we play this video on our YouTube channel? And so we're asking you formally if we can, because it's so beautiful. When did you write that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So first off, thank you for appreciating it, and thank you for appreciating the law enforcement side of the house. We, as veterans, consider law enforcement to be sort of like our cousins here at home. But as we're seeing more and more, for them to go out and do the job every single day, some of these guys, 20, 30 years, it's like a 20, 30-year deployment. You know what I mean? These guys aren't really suiting up for a job anymore. They're suiting up to go to war every single day, and they're being targeted just like, a U.S. soldier would be targeted in an enemy war zone. And it's a crazy time for our law enforcement. But yes, I appreciate you recognizing the song Last Call. There's a whole story behind that, but I'm sure we'll get into it. And absolutely, you can use it however you guys want to. You're probably, like Bob said, you're probably going to get hit with a copyright deal from YouTube, but whatever.
I'll run a low tone under. But, what you said is I agree 1,000%. Anybody who makes any comment about a police officer or anything and says, oh, you do this, I would say get in a car, stop another car, get up and walk to that car's window and see the fear that's going to go for you every step, and then realize that these guys do it 10, 15 times a day, never knowing if you're going to be shot as soon as you walk up.
Well, and that's what the video was, it was so beautiful. I talk about that. Well, actually, Bob's going to make me do the word of the day first. We do a word of the day.
What was your idea to begin with?
We're
Wait, time out. Is this, listen, I'm a 90s kid, so is this like Pee-wee's Playhouse where everybody yells when the word of the day comes
No,
up?
no. We don't like interrupting.
No.
Yeah. I can't stand watching those shows where everybody talks over each other because they're just unlistenable. So we're going to let Cory speak, and then we'll go from there.
I'm sorry.
But I just can't stand it. I
Yeah.
hate when they interrupt. I'm sorry, Cory, go ahead.
No. Bob
The
likes to
interrupting
harass
drives me nuts. Okay.
Dave. Well,
No.
it's really about Dave today. So
Yes.
I really want to get in and dive into him and his music and his journey. I want to hear your whole testimony because, like I said, I do watch your stuff and I follow you, and I'm so grateful for people like you that stand up for us and the flag, which is right behind you for those of you who are just listening to the podcast.
It's the real deal. No green screen here.
No, right? I love that. I love that.
We need to get a flag.
Right? So we're just going to go do our word of the day first, and you'll guess it. Our guest guesses it.
Our
I have
guest
to
guesses.
Guess it.
Very good.
Guess
Yeah.
the word of
We'll
the day.
try to guess it.
Yeah, they're all phobias. So this is a phobia, and it is. Hold on. Oops, wrong button.
Decantophobia.
Decantophobia. DECANTO phobia.
Antophobia.
DEC.
Decantophobia.
Okay, I think I got this one.
Go ahead.
It's fear of bottles.
That's actually a great guess, though, because a decanter,
Yeah, decanter,
actually.
right, yeah.
There,
Although it was a
yeah.
decanter. Yeah, it is a bottle. I was thinking deca, maybe 10.
Well, what is it?
You got to guess.
Fear of
We'll put it this way, Corey. You do not have this one. Neither does Dave.
the fear of the stage,
Close.
the fear of something.
Close. It's the
Siri,
fear of singing.
What is
Fear of singing.
decantophobia?
Oh,
It's the fear of singing, Bob.
yeah.
Fear of singing. Yes, it
the
is.
fear
The fear
of singing. Well, let me tell you something. Dave Bray has an amazing voice. So, tell me about that journey. Just tell me everything
Yeah.
about you, Dave Bray. I'm fascinated by your passion.
Long
really.
story. It was
Okay.
it was a dark and stormy night somewhere in the hills of Ireland. I believe it started. No, so I was born in England actually, and my dad was an NSA worker, 3-letter agency guy, field guy, and my mom, I always say, was a Bond chick because all of her pictures from back there, she totally looks like straight hair, blacked out eyes, like a total Bond chick from the '60s. Right, so
We have to get
they
a
met
photo
on a
of
blind-
her.
Yeah, she's awesome. Met on a blind date, and 9 months later, I was here. And
Aw.
happy Mother's Day. A little late, but to all the mothers out there, none of us would exist. So probably the most important day of the year. But over in England in preschool, you learn to sing hymns. It's a different sort of culture. Go preschool 70s. England, it's very old school. So you learn to sing hymns, and it's all done through the church. And that's where, you start out as a kid learning these hymns, and I can remember how it sounded. And I can remember matching up with other singers and the older kids in the preschool, which may have been 7 or 6 or 5, I don't know. But I was only like a 3-year-old kid, and I can remember sort of standing out and loving the way it sounded in the church. And that's where it all sort of started for me. I've always said that I have a sort of intense and perspective hearing ability, and that a lot of that is gone now because of military service, but I still can catch it every once in a while where I hear things and notes and tones that I don't even know if they exist truly on the spectrum of on the auditory spectrum, but I do catch these things, and they interface with me on a level that is a lot like catching the goosebumps. So I'm sure everybody has it, but for me, I feel like I'm sort of hypersensitive to that. So a lot of my songs are generated towards that emotion and trying to catch you as a listener to give you that same sensation of getting the goosebumps. So I want you to interact not only with the song and what the song is saying, but also to interact physically as to what the song is doing to you emotionally. And you said earlier about Last Call.
I was in
how you
tears,
were affected
literally.
emotionally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was.
And-
It was hard. I said, this is going to
Yeah,
take me
so-
down before we start this.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a necessary healing moment. A lot of us veer away from those emotions as soon as they arise inside of us. A lot of us get away from them. For me, I was I don't want to say cursed, but I lost a really good friend at a very young age, and I got a tough lesson on death when you lose a loved one at a very early age. And it's different when you lose a family member, I feel, compared to your pal around buddy, when you're in 5th and 6th and 7th grade or whatever. I started putting these things together as a healing mechanism for me. Singing became a healing thing, and even singing in the church once we came to America. I was like 5, 6 years old, and I was immediately in the church choir and singing in church, and it was a way for me to, I guess, heal. And so that is why I chose to do the music I choose to do. When I do songs for fallen heroes like our law enforcement, or fallen heroes like in our military, or for Gold Star families and, Memorial Day. When I take on these serious topics, I do it because I feel like I've been given a gift. It was a gift that I learned in a church. So I say it's been a gift from God. And I want to try to help other people heal with the ability to physically emote what I'm trying to get across and feel it and release and get rid of some of the pain and some of the void and some of the heartache from their losses.
You talked about the Bible, so I'm just going to say the Bible says, delight yourself in the Lord and he'll give you the desires of your heart. And it seems like you're doing that. And he gives each of us a gift, and they're irrevocable. He talks about that in the Bible, how we can use our gifts, for good. And you really you've turned your pain into your purpose, and other people's pain into their purpose. And music is so healing and can take you back to a year or a time or a place, And so I appreciate you using your gift to affect others and to bring others to unity, or even, just to God. So it's amazing hearing you talk about this, because, we can both agree. Bob's a musician. I just watched him in his Cars tribute band this last weekend. Wow. He had a wig on. It was hilarious. I did harass him. They were tight. They were really good. But I talk a little bit about, because we were talking about this in the beginning, the song Last Call.
Yep.
I just watched the video, and it's beautiful. And tell me what inspired, obviously we know what inspired you, but tell me how you wrote that song and just the process of it.
So, I'm going to give a secret away. If you listen to any of my songs, you're going to find, if you look hard enough, you will usually find an essence of faith or loss of faith in them. And Last Call is no different. So if you're going down through that song and you're sitting as the perspective of the law enforcement officer, and that's how the song basically starts out. It's a law enforcement officer, and he's giving his last call back to his wife, his kids, and his brothers and sisters in blue. And he's shot, he's injured, and he's on the radio, and he's basically saying, hey, man down, I'm bleeding out. But, please tell my wife that I love her, tell my kids that I love them, I'll always be watching them. And, as far as my brothers and sisters in blue, I tried my best. I worked my hardest. I did everything I could, and I let you down, and I'm sorry for that today. But hold your head up high and, kick some ass for me. And that's the essence of the song. And the reason the song was kind of put together was a friend of mine had sent me a recording of a guy named Bradley Fox, and he was a Marine Corps guy who went to serve, I believe, with Philadelphia PD, or outside of Philadelphia, one of the burbs of PD. And he ended up giving chase to a perp, and he got away from him. He got some distance on him. He went down into a ravine, like a railroad track ravine, and there he staged an ambush. And as soon as Brad Fox sort of poked his head up, boom, guy took him out and got away. Anyway, Brad leaves behind 2 kids, beautiful wife, the whole 9 yards. And I hadn't ever heard a last call or a final call being given by a dispatcher before. I didn't understand what it was. In the military, we have a roll call, which is, guys all get on formation. And if one of the guys has been lost in action, they'll call up 3 or 4 names that are present, and then they will call the name of the person who has lost their life. And obviously that person does not respond. And so the last call or final call that the dispatcher was giving was very similar. She called the badge number 3 times. And the reason I used wife, kids, and brothers and sisters in blue was to echo those 3 non-responses on that radio call. So it was, she calls Brad's badge number, no response. She calls it again, no response. She calls it again, no response. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to give that officer a voice to fill those 3 badge calls out on the last call for the radio broadcast.
And you sure did. The lyrics are beautiful. I encourage anyone listening to download that song, which is probably on iTunes and Spotify and all of the. It's called Last Call by Dave Bray, and it's just beautiful. And I would encourage you as well to watch the video, because it really does give you a visual and heightens the emotions even more, Like we said, like Bob said, we are defunding the police and anti-police, and when the reality is that we need them, and they do put their lives on the line, just like our military does on a daily basis. So
there's a great video when the riots were happening in July or whatever it is. There's a bunch of teenage kids who don't know anything, and they're just going around, F the police, and they're throwing stuff at a car, and all of a sudden a car stops, and this very large gentleman gets out, and he had either a knife or like a homemade claw in his hands and was going after the kids. And the first thing they did was turn around and say, call the police, call the police. So yeah, when they need you, you're there, but when they don't, it's like, oh, you're horrible. And for anybody who says anything, now I get every organization has a bad person or two, and I'm not saying there aren't a police officer who takes a bribe or kills somebody who shouldn't, but 99% are there. And my comment was always, they stand between me and the bad guys with the bullets. So there's no way I'm going to ever say anything. I made a rule. I never represented anybody against the police except family law. It's just, I don't take cases against cops because it's, they're out protecting us.
They're certainly there to protect and serve. And so thank you for making that song. And it's beautiful.
Sure.
It's so beautiful.
It's an interesting segue. If you've listened to my album, Music on a Mission, I narrate it. So as you're going down through the song list, I also narrate throughout the entire record. So if you actually go to DaveBrayUSA.com and purchase anything, I always give a free album that has the narrated points
Wait,
on it.
can you hold that up for 1 second?
Yeah. So it's Music on a Mission. Can you see it?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Because that's perfect.
On the back's got this really cool looking dude.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
See that? Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I've been following you for a long time, so I feel I've been waiting for you to come to a theater near us, to a stage near us.
But yeah, he brings up, Bob, you bring up a good point. A lot of the time we go through our lives like those teenage kids, right? And we're like, I don't need this. I don't need that. I can move on without this. I don't really need church. I don't have to tithe. I don't need God. I don't need this. I'm my own person. But when the proverbial poo hits the fan, the first person we go to is, our knees, and we put our hands together and scream to the Lord, please come back to our lives. And you'll actually hear some of that in my album. You'll hear about my journey of faith. You'll hear about my testimony and my loss of faith. And you'll hear some of the songs that brought it back, and some of the ones that I recorded when I, was outside of the wave of what I believe to be faith. So
can you tell us a little bit right now? You said I was raised in a Christian home, and Bob and I have had this conversation. You said, is there ever a time that you didn't believe? And I actually had never been asked that before, but it was an emphatic no. I always believed. Doesn't mean I didn't have those conversations with God, that were challenging, and why is this happening? And, the answer I would get resounding every time was because of the choice you made. But having said that, tell us a little bit about the time that you just mentioned that you had fallen away from your faith and what that looked like. And if there's anyone listening, how did you get back?
Yeah. It happens. It happens in life. I mean, faith is nonlinear. Life is nonlinear. It's not a direct line. It's a roller coaster. It'll take you in through the jungles and out through the, the fire, and in through the storms and to the rainbows and the pots of gold, and then no gold and all those things. So, to anybody who believes faith is linear or life is linear, they're mistaken. You just got to get ready to put on enough safety precautions and have enough armor to go into the battles when you're ready. As a young kid, when I lost my friend Cory, and we were riding our bikes to baseball practice, we were a church going family as well. And my dad was the scout master. He was the Boy Scout leader. And one of the merit badges that you are working towards is called the Arrow of Light, and it's a pretty cool thing. So when Cory passed away, my parents, basically my dad had to pin the Arrow of Light onto Cory. He got buried in his little scout uniform, and they put the Arrow of Light on him. He put the Arrow of Light on him, and that was kind of when that casket closed. I felt there was an emptiness in my family. We stopped going to church. I would end up start to go back again. But for, a good amount of time, we walked away, and I walked away, and I guess I was sort of following my dad's footsteps. He couldn't bear to, stare the kids in the face that would go to the same church. And it was just too much emotionally, to lose him. And we're a small town. When I say small town, like small town of like 300, maybe 400 people. So everybody knew it. Everybody knew everybody. We didn't have a traffic light. We had a roundabout, so small farm town, one gas station, one store, one cop. Volunteer fire department is the backup law enforcement. And
Yeah.
they're just a bunch
So
of
it
kids.
affected the whole town.
Yeah. So it was rippled, man. It was tough. And the fact that Cory and I were in sports together, we were in baseball together, football together, basketball, everything. We did everything together. Scouting, we did together. And then we hung out afterwards. And which is just, like I said, at that point in time, I think that I just I turned to, stealing alcohol. We were still allowed to buy cigarettes for our parents, at 10,
I
12
remember
years.
those days.
Yeah. Hey, my mom says I need a box of Marlboro Reds and a box of Garcia Vegas and,
How
that
crazy
kind of thing.
was that? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll
but in
take
a
all
small town, if your mom
Yeah.
didn't get them, everybody would know your mom didn't get them.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they even know what your mom smoked. So they knew my mom didn't smoke cheap Garcia Vegas cigars. So, but we turned to a different, I walked away from scouting. We got into just raising hell, and at a very young age, like I said, hanging out with the wrong crowd of older kids, drinking and smoking and chewing and dipping, and just going down the wrong path. And I still held really good grades in school. I was a decent student, and I was still pushing forward in that mentality. And I wanted to join the military and that kind of thing, but that point in time, there was like a godlessness era. And then it kind of crept back into my life. And I feel like, I don't feel like it ever came back completely. There was this thing when I was younger that was angelic, and that goes with youth, it just comes with time. But then there's also been times in my life where I've never felt more blessed. And I've never, when I had my kids, when I looked at, my children for the first time, and I'm just like, why would you give me this responsibility? And then you start looking at your history with God and with faith and all the stupid things you've done. Why in God's name would you give me this responsibility? And so
Just to really quickly, did you ever think you could love somebody that much?
oh yeah.
Really?
Well, no.
And then I
but
literally
yeah.
looked at my child and I was like, I did not know I could love this much.
Yeah. But you got 2 kids, so then that gets cut in half. So yes, when I look at both
but then
my
you
children,
realize, yes, both of your, yes. But then you realize, well, I did, how much God loves me. You get to see it from the parent-child perspective, right? It's like it almost parallels with our Heavenly Father. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's good. No,
That's
you're
a
right.
moment, yeah.
And then there's times after, you know what I mean? So times during service where, I was in some, like I said, some just difficult spots physically, mentally, felt like a little bit forsaken. And it's the funny thing is, even the Son of God questioned God, you know what I mean? So it's like one of those things that he was just like at the end, why would you do this to me?
Yeah.
And, you promised, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And, it just goes to show you that you're never going to be ready for all of the challenges and obstacles that God is going to put in your way. You can build up as much faith as you can in your heart to try to swallow it and accept it. I think the best example that I saw that really taught me a lesson was we live right near Amish country. And when the guy shot up the school full of Amish kids, I think, 10, 11 years ago, whenever it was, the family went to him and forgave him that night. Like
I saw that. Yeah. Can you imagine?
That same day, they're like, hey, we forgive you. Your children, our bodies aren't even cold yet. And you're offering up forgiveness first. And I always go back to people wanting to go green and everybody being politically correct, but I still think the Amish, other than the Native American Indians, the Amish come in second place. They got it right.
Right.
You want to figure out how to fix this nation, go back to Amishville and figure that out. If we can continue growing in that direction, we'd be good, but we're not there. So
Where in the country are you?
York, Pennsylvania. So right outside of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Yeah.
I grew up in Philadelphia for 21 years. I used to live in Montgomery County.
Right. Down there in Philly. All right. Philadelphia guy. Gotcha.
I still say Wooder and Farhead and Orange and all those things.
Yeah. Well, the great thing about Pennsylvania is that there's like 7 different dialects to PA. You know what I mean? You got the Western PA, which is a little more harsh, a little more Midwestern. And then if you come over to Philly, you got Philadelphia, and you got your basket and your lotion. You grab your towel.
Good.
Grab your towel. You head down the shore.
Oh, you gotta forget about it.
Yeah, you gotta forget it.
The shore, yeah.
Dude, going down the shore, dude. We're going to Philly, bro. We're going to Dunkin'.
They always say, they would say, when I'm Italian, they say, "Are you sure you're Italian?" I say, I knew 3 guys named Dino when I grew up. Trust me, I'm Italian.
Well, so Dave, I see that you have your keyboards right there. Are you going to play something for us today?
Oh, no. This is a MIDI input. So this is like a beat maker.
Oh,
Not going to play for you today. I'm not prepared
You can't
for that.
play for us today?
You got to call him in advance.
What's
I'm
that?
not
Have to
sure-
call him in
there's-
advance?
Yeah, everything is USB, so I would have to bring up an interface, and it would be a nightmare to try to
How
get it all
about
loaded.
acapella? Because you have like this amazing voice.
Oh my goodness, she doesn't ask for much, does she, Bob?
Put him
No,
on the
sorry.
spot.
Sorry.
Jeez. Yeah,
I'll
let's
sing
move
with
on.
you.
Next
Okay, we'll
question,
move on.
Your Honor.
Well,
Pass.
actually, to your point before Bob interrupted us, I'm just
You
kidding.
mean added to
I'm
this
kidding.
wonderful dialect, this three-way conversation? You said I should chime in whenever I feel like it.
No, I love you, Bob. I always say this, and to your previous point, unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. And forgiveness is one of the hardest things to obtain, in any religion, whatever it is. But it really truly is. And when you can, like the Amish did, immediately, sometimes even just say, I forgive this person, and the feelings will follow. God knows our heart. And my Nana told me years ago, all you have to do is look up and say, God, please forgive me. And if we are to be forgiven, we're to forgive, the Bible says 7 times 70, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's hard. And there have been challenges and times in my life where I'm like, really, Lord, I have to forgive this person. But once I do, it's like this huge weight is lifted, right?
Yeah.
And you
And
just
I'll
feel
even-
free.
I'll go one step further. That the
Yeah.
ultimate, because okay, so people in your life that are becoming poisonous to you, or have done something to harm you, or gone after your family, and especially in the digital age, it could be just something online or something very like critical. You know what I mean? Like that you perceive as being way out of line. I've played the game of harboring anger and hate and resentment, and going back and like searching their social media and checking the dark web and looking for links that they're chasing and trying to get stuff on them. And you want some dirt, I'll give you some dirt. And this just creating, I always call it the thing that's above. Is it Linus, the little dude that's on the Peanuts, that's got the little thing above his head, little dirty pigpen kid or whatever his name is? And
That's
little
Pigpen.
pigpen dude. That little thing, that little ball of stuff that's inside of him, that's the kind of stuff that I feel, if you can get rid of that by using forgiveness, you can actually use forgiveness as a weapon, because once that person does not have the DC to the AC current going, once that direct line of current is intercepted by forgiveness, there's nowhere for his or the other person's energy to go, and they end up basically burning out. It's like smothering a flame of anger, and it's amazing. I've done it so many times, like with people that I just cease. I mean, I will not even think about that person, to the point where I go out of my way not to think about that person. If I feel even a thought coming on, I will do 1,000 push-ups just to make sure I'm thinking about pain other than that.
Yeah.
So, and that person, whether they realize it or not, and once you've turned off and you're no longer playing the game, you're no longer playing, there's no defense to their offense, and you are no longer, making them to create a defense. Once that happens and you've actually physically done it and mentally done it, and mentally is the key word, you've switched off the interface between the two people, and it creates a calm that can either be dealt with and both sides can heal, or the other side will literally smother themselves out. They will go down a rabbit hole of, self-destruction, and you end up using God's forgiveness against your enemy. It's very crazy, but it works and it happens.
Well, it's actually God's word. He says, and sometimes I have to remind myself of this because, we're all human. And when somebody hurts us, our first reaction is to, respond.
Hurt back,
But
eye for an eye.
Yeah. And I don't really ever want to hurt back. I just want to respond. I want an answer. I want some kind of closure. I want to talk it out. But the Bible says, vengeance is mine, says the Lord.
Right.
And so if you lay it down at his feet, right, you truly are, he will handle all of your affairs. And 9 times out of 10, it's better than what you could have expected.
Yeah,
and
it's
hopefully
true.
and prayerfully, if you pray about that and for the other person, maybe God will meet them in their own spot, right?
Yeah, that is the other key. That's the other key. Pray for the other person, and only think about that other person in a prayerful manner. And I think you're right. I mean, I've seen it happen in my life. I've had my own personal shark attacking me, where I was unable to get out of its clutches. I could not get away from this person, and there was nothing that I could do that was not going to release me. And here I am asking God, how do I forgive the shark that's literally gnawing on my leg? And he's like, just do it. Bring it to me.
Just do it.
I'll take it, and I'll release the clenches. And it wasn't but a few months later that this amazing fog started to lift and our lives changed, so, and our family was essentially released from the clutches of that shark.
Well, and to that point, and I'm like quoting the Bible a lot today. It's coming at me because you're here, but
it's only 12:30.
I know. Well, it says, and I reminded my daughter this the other day. The Bible says, it's not a battle of flesh and blood. It's a battle of principalities. And which means it's a spiritual battle, right? So if you can look at it as it's a spiritual battle, that person that may be offending you or hurting you, like you said earlier, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do, right? Sometimes it's really a spiritual battle, and you just have to take authority in the spiritual realm without getting too weird on everyone. Well, yeah, I'm not trying to, but I've been there, and it really is, and having been a leader of Moms in Prayer for 16 years, prayer is the key. It is so effective. And, it says the prayers of a righteous man availeth much. And so I encourage anyone to ask, and they will receive in one way or another, right? Whatever that is, whatever God's plan is. So let's jump into a little bit. I have a couple questions for you, Mr. Bray. I'm so excited to have you here today. I really am. I follow your Instagram, Dave Bray USA. And you just do so many wonderful things. And, there's moments in my life that you've spoken to my spirit through a post or through a song or through, that's what happens on social media a lot, right? Someone will just post one little saying and it's for you that day, right?
Right.
And so, what really, where do you think, how do I phrase this? Where do you think this world is headed? It's a big loaded question. But having served in the military and knowing where and how we started all of this with our forefathers, right? Where do you think we're headed, and how do you think we get to? Go ahead.
Yeah, where do you think we're headed? I can tell you where I think we're headed is not a good place. I think we're going to look back and say, man, that seemed like it happened really quickly, but if we're going to go back and we're going to see that it's been something that's been in the making for probably a few generations.
A slow burn.
Unfortunately, it does come, and I talk about this in the Music on a Mission album. I talk about the youth in the next generation and what we are handing over to that next generation. And so as a kid growing up, there was always this thing, leave the bathroom as you found it or better. Like that was a note, a Post-it note, wherever. And if you didn't, you got the Post-it note on your leave it how you found it or better. So, and that's the kind of if you think about the concept behind that, like in anything you do, like, okay, hotel rooms are not that example because 3 o'clock wake ups to catch a 5 o'clock flight. I'm not making the bed, but, when it comes to living spaces of others or other people's things or, vehicles or just, you're keeping track of your own things in general, look at the earth, look at the world. And there's none of us who are not guilty. We're all guilty of this. And that's why I said, go back to the Amish culture and look at how they did it. If you want to go green, that's what you're looking at. But everything else is a failure. Like solar, wind, you're all just making more carbon and creating more carbon to try to keep up with, the slippery slope that you're moving down the hill. If you want to get back to it, this is what it looks like. It's called the Amish culture. You either do it or you don't. But you're not going to be able to keep up with it with GMOs. You're not going to be able to keep up with wind, solar, and all these other energies. And the fossil fuels are killing the center of the earth. So if people want to know what keeps the center of the earth, like a molten hot lava ball, like there's a fuel, and that fuel is raw, and it's raw oil and fuel that fuels that big giant ball of heat and matter that keeps us moving in a circle. Okay. So if we, the people, are going to be yanking all of that from the center of the earth, there's going to be repercussions. The long term, you want to say where you asked this question, The long term is we're going to start slowing down, and our days are going to start getting longer, which is going to bring us to a different orbit, which is going to change a lot of things. But as far as America goes, as far as if we're looking at this from a microcosm, I say, of America itself, don't think the power can stay on too much longer. I think the inevitability of Amish culture is something that is going to happen in order for us to survive. And I don't think anybody is going to have a choice in that matter. But what comes before that is the scariest part. What comes before that is going to be basically people ripping each other apart to try to hold on to the things that nature cannot provide. So,
I have a point to that. I had gone on my daughter's 8th grade. I was a chaperone for her 8th grade trip to DC, and we went to, we covered the whole field trip, and I never was able to go on that trip as a kid. They didn't have that when I was a kid. So I was really excited because I got to see history come to life. And there I stood on the Battle of Gettysburg, and they told the story of how the enemy lines, if you got hurt over the enemy lines, they would take you to their camp, nurse you back to health, and then release you back to the other side to fight again.
mm-hmm.
And that right there, all of what you just said, for me, falls under the category of respect, whether it's respect the hotel room, respect the planet, respect what we've been given. Too much is given, much is expected, right? And that blew my mind as I stood there on that Battle of Gettysburg, where there's this little fence. Really, it's just like a wooden fence. I don't know if you've ever been there, but
I live like 20 minutes from there. So yeah.
Okay. So yeah, right. I mean, I was sobbing, my daughter's like, Mom, can you hold it together for like 5 minutes? But for me, I really got a sense of what our forefathers went through.
Mm.
And I really feel like, and this is my own personal opinion. I'm not trying to make anyone feel this way, but I feel like we've gotten so far away from that, respecting each other. And that's why Bob and I really wanted to do this show, was to bring people together and unite people. Because when you're cohesive, there's strength in numbers. What does the Bible say? When 2 or more are gathered, there I am in the midst. But when there's a cord of 3, it cannot be broken.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're all divided, that's where the fall comes in.
Yeah. Well, we go right back to Gettysburg. And the stars are aligning towards that same thing. Segregation is slowly coming back into this country in order to enlighten
media. I will say though,
I will say through the media, but it's also through the scholastic, upper scholastic, universities. They're moving towards segregation, and it's disinviting basically other races to certain things. Harvard graduates now want to have segregated all black graduation ceremonies and things like that. So it's like we're moving back into this direction at a rapid pace for a very scary result. I'm ashamed to say, but when you bring up respect, that's the first thing that I speak about on the album. The first track is called Patriotism and Respect. And you cannot, absolutely cannot have patriotism in this country unless you have respect. And respect is taught from day one. It's taught from the child learning to understand the hand that feeds and how important it is to have somebody like a mother or a father, especially in your life or in the family unit. And you can't have respect for anything, like you said, whether it's the hotel room or the car or your house, or you won't ever respect your belongings or other people if it's not taught to you. And teachers don't teach respect anymore. School bus drivers don't teach respect anymore. So the second that your kid leaves the house to go to a public education system, which our kids do, they're immediately set loose into a feral experiment that is failed by our government. And unfortunately, we're still not spending the dollars to fix that. And
100% true. And I'll just say this to that. I was a room mom for my daughter's class from 0 to 5.
Yeah.
And I watched it unfold. And when you and I were kids, sounds like at the same, probably older than you, but a little bit of the same, we had a healthy respect for our teachers. And if we got a phone call at home from our teachers, my mom was like, if I hear from your teacher, I don't care if you're right or wrong, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
But nowadays, the kids are always right. The parents threaten to sue and, nobody, there's no accountability. And I watched it unfold and I was like, wait, this isn't teaching our kids at the most impressionable age, 0 to 5, 5th grade, respect. So,
yeah. And that is so important.
yeah.
And that comes with, you bring up another point about if there are two or more, and I'm going backwards and to go forwards here, but talk about forgiveness, and you're asking for forgiveness to God personally, and you're just sort of begging in silence, as your head layeth on your pillow at night, or if you're actually sitting with, the person who may be the most affected, or other people, your family, and say, hey, family, I'm going to pray with you guys tonight. I hope you guys understand that I'm going to go through some stuff, but I need you to hear this. I need you to help me carry this. I think that's what God meant. And that's what, the Bible means by saying it out loud, like giving witness to you coming to God means more to God than just saying, hey, yeah, you're coming to me in silence, and that's fine and dandy. But when you actually step to the plate and admit what you've done in front of your family or in front of your wife, in front of your kids, and that to me is an essence of connectivity and a faith that will help you grow bigger and broader in the world that you need to grow more than anything. I mean, again, it's easy for all of us to beg for forgiveness for the things we've done in silence, right? And I call it the jail cell. It's fine when you're in the jail cell begging for forgiveness, but to actually go and pray with the people you've hurt, or pray with the people who may be hurting because of what you've done to them or what your actions have done, really means more. But when you talk about that education system and where we're failing most, what I guess I see coming down range more than anything is a reconstruction of where our priorities lie. We have kids in our school systems who are achieving on a sub middle school level compared to, if you look at Japan, you look at China, you look at kids overseas, and you see where they are as far as their education goes in the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. Our kids are still ripping paper in half and trying to do shapes. Wow.
Well, they definitely dumb us down here it's incredible.
Yeah. And they're setting us
you get
up.
a medal for doing that.
Yeah. And they're setting us up for something. And those are the things that scare me the most. Those are the things that we need to look at.
Yes.
So
I actually questioned that when I saw it, because they were putting my daughter in little clusters and sitting them with her with like 5 or 6 kids. And I said, and she's an only child. And so she would go to school, and she's very smart, but she would want to interact and socialize, and, because there's no siblings at home. So she went to school to be with her friends. And I said, why aren't you sitting them like we sat, focused in a line, paying attention to the teacher? Right. And, they pulled her aside, and that 1 week it was like straight A, straight A, straight A, straight A. And so to your point, yes, I think that it's a whole bigger plan. Something came to my mind when you were talking, and it was, we have all of these social media things, and it lends us to the word pride, right? And the Bible's specific about that. It says, pride goes before the fall, a haughty spirit before destruction. And so when you can humble yourself before the Lord, like you said, and either go to the person that offended you or the person that you offended, and come together, right, with 2 or more, whether it's confess or ask for forgiveness or forgive them, that word pride is like canceled out. And there's such peace, a peace that passes all understanding in that moment. And like, it just fills your heart,
Yep. Yeah. We agree. So, what's next? What else? The secrets of the universe? Are we going to UFOs? Are we doing UFOs, Yetis, and let me know we're moving on to the.
I want to say June 15th, the government has to release all the information on the UFOs.
Oh, come on. It's going to be black line. It's going to be redactions.
They're going to redact every other word. Yeah. They're going to redact F. It's going to be UOs.
Yeah. They're basically just giving us a stack of paper. But
yeah. And you're in the military. What's the term in the military for that? It's not UFO. It's like non-identified object or something. Non-identified flying or something.
Yeah. I don't remember.
Do any singing when you were in the military?
Not karaoke.
That's my thing. I love karaoke. Well, I call it Corioki, but
no, you call it karaoke. Nobody else does.
Is it that good?
Well, I used to be in a band.
Sure.
I'm not that
Absolutely.
bad.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Bob.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm starting a worship band, so
That's cool.
I'm really excited about it. I actually have to interject for 1 second. I did this little show called Beverly Hills Pawn. I don't know if you know that. It's okay if you don't.
66 episodes, all in 5
Whatever.
years.
But I wore this dress on it. And so I'm giving away this. I have 5 of them. And we have been doing a little promo, and I'm giving away the dress. And so what we're doing is in each episode that I have the dress on, we're asking our guest, you, to come up with one word that somebody can hear right now, and then post the word at the bottom in the comments. And then we're going to put all of those comments into a bowl or whatever, a hat. And we're going to give one of the dresses away, one of the 5. So if you can come up with a word.
Along with our Patreon subscribers, too.
Along with our Patreon subscribers as well, yes.
Okay.
So it's your word, whatever word you want.
Do I have to type it into the comments?
No, you just say it.
Okay.
You don't have
I
to.
just say a word.
You just say it right now. Yeah, you pick the word.
God, I feel so stressed out.
You want it to be stressed?
Let's see what we got here. I'm going to pick a word off of something. It's got to be.
It can be anything.
Could be Amish.
How about? How about contact?
Okay. I love it. Good word.
Contact.
So if you're listening and you post the word contact in the comments, we will enter you into the drawing, and we will pick your name in the next.
What I just caught from Philadelphia, I said drawing.
Drawing.
It's a drawing.
Drawing. Mr. Bray.
I'm sorry, one of the.
Go ahead.
So, you know that big thing of fabric, not fabric, that big cloth thing you dry yourself off when you get out of the shower?
Yeah, the towel.
Yeah, towel. T-A-L-L. Towel. Right.
Towel. Yeah, it's a towel.
Yeah, towel.
I told you, get your lotion, your basket, get your towel, get down on the beach, get down shore.
And then
Grab
there's a $1, $2, $3, and $5.
$5.
The other was $100. It's $100. 89, 90 $100.
Yeah.
Mr. Bray, is your wife from the same area you are?
Yeah, she grew up in York, Pennsylvania area. Yeah.
Do you want to share that beautiful story, love story?
I can, yes.
Okay, I love these stories.
Very, very interesting. We're all familiar with the Garden of Eden, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And in the Garden of Eden, there was a serpent, right? So
yes.
Very funny. I was at this party, and it was basically, I don't know, like a rough house, but this guy had a room that was filled with reptiles, and in there he had a butcher cabinet, which was about 7 feet long. And in the butcher cabinet, he had this old glass butcher cabinet. So when you pick your meat out of the front of the thing at Texas Roadhouse, it looked like that, but 7 feet long. So in there was this monster boa constrictor, like this snake was probably at girth, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 inches wide, like big, right? So I can't even explain it. Her laugh was like this. It was more like a whinny, and we were all like, every once in a while this part, I would hear this
whinny like a horse, not Winnie the Pooh, whinny like a horse.
I said, what is that noise? And like, I knew it was a female species of something. I couldn't figure out what it was.
It was
saw her, and I was like, oh man, she's really cute. And then she was just like, she was hanging out with a buddy of mine, and I was just like, I don't know, So anyway, I saw her. I watched her. She went to
love it.
She went to the bathroom, and she walked down this hallway. And as you're going down this hallway, the room on the right-hand side has a lock on it. And I knew that. So as she was coming back down the bathroom, I timed it perfectly. That would meet at that door. I was like, hey, come here. I want to show you something. So I showed her this snake and like closed the door. And then like we had a moment, and we came out, and I left her at the party. And at that time, I drove this 1965 Ford Falcon, which was awesome.
Oh, those are awesome. Man, that is.
And, and I was like this tough guy, and I get back to my place, and I was a greaser, you know what I mean? Like, so I was like, totally. I was like, galley, so I called my boys. I'm like, yo, hey, bring Becky up to my place. Bring Becky up to the joint. All right. You know what I mean?
Like the Fonz?
And, yeah, it was like the Fonz. And my buddy goes, yeah, no, it's not happening. I was just like, all right, click, hung up the phone. Get back in the car. Get back in the car. Cruise back up. Yeah, cruise back up. I pulled into the dirt driveway, like, kicking up rocks. Everybody came out of the house, and I'm just like, "Yo, get Becky out here!"
Oh my gosh, I love this.
Yeah, and I was 22 years old, and she came out like, I didn't know you were gonna come back. I was like, "Get in the car." So we like went back to my place and hung out and stuff. So that was the start of it.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's so Noah and Allie. I love it. I love stories.
So we were together for like 8 years went by that we were dating. And like, it was seriously one of those moments that we're both like, hey, what are we going to be doing here for the next 20 years?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I don't know. I was like, are we ever going to have kids or anything? And she's just like, by this time, 8 years later, we had bought a house. We were getting into real estate a little bit. We had an apartment we were renting out and doing some other stuff and like building together and growing together. Yeah. And, her parents were kind of like, if you're going to be on the deed, you better get married kind of thing. And I was like the same thing. I was like, yeah, no reason. So
yeah,
we were looking at maybe having kids and I was like, well, let's get married. And we did that. And then we started popping out kids.
Said, you want to?
Yeah, that was pretty. No,
that's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, we got engaged at this golf course called Heritage Hills. Really beautiful place. Took her to dinner. Downstairs was like the 18th hole or 19th hole kind of place, like a pub. And I had all of her friends like coming in like down below. And the way they sat us at the restaurant, I was afraid that she was going to see like all her friends like sneaking in down below, coming down the.
Surprised her.
Yeah, so we're at the hoity-toity restaurant up top. A buddy of mine comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing? What's going on?" I was just like, Be quiet. Get your ass downstairs. No. All right, man. Well, if you guys want to hang out later, I was like, oh God.
There's always that one person that's gonna mess it up.
Completely. And so as you're coming down, it's a really beautiful staircase, and that's one of the reasons I chose it. Was as she was coming down the steps, she would see her friends, and then they would be like, surprise, and then they all go, oh my gosh, and then she would be like, what? And then she turned around, like I was like down on me. So coming down the stairs.
I love that. I love that. I love. So that's actually beautiful. And you guys have been married for?
Since 2006. So.
That's 13. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And just skipping into that, because I had a marriage ministry for a while. What would you say is the number one thing that you lean on together when, every single solitary person goes through difficult times in their marriage. It just is a fact, right?
Sure.
What would you say is the one thing you lean on? I think it was Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward said, somebody asked them the same thing, and they said, well, neither one of us, they said, what was the success to your marriage? And they said, neither one of us wanted to get divorced at the same time. That was funny, but what?
There's some truth to that. I mean, I think communication is the key. There's give and take. And, this weekend was an example. Just got off the road and I was exhausted. And, Becky's got a list of things that she wants done before I go out again. And I'm just like, I really just want to sit on a couch and chill. Yeah. But, I think and the thing about Becky is she's not just my wife. She's like my coworker. She's mission control behind Music on a Mission. She does all the booking, the PR, the outreach, logistics. Yeah. So the other thing is I don't want to tick her off or else she'll just put me out on the road forever. She's like, don't get this wrong. Like home life, privilege. Okay. I can send your ass. I got plenty of people. And it's so true because she's like, I was like, you do know how to say no to people, right? She's like, oh, believe me, I have my list of no's over here. We can call them up. They want you anytime you're available. I was like, oh, okay.
Hey, you're playing Dog River, Saskatchewan.
Well, you know what? Tell her, because she did communicate with us. Tell her thank you for saying yes. And I appreciate it. And I do appreciate it. So.
Yeah, like your email is your wife's email.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
We'll give... she's actually just giving me a break. So this is a break for me. There's more torture to be done. Trust me. But she's got her little list of things to do. And I think it's important to, it's very easy for me to just say, you know what, I'm going to hire somebody to do that, even though it's a job I can do, or, I don't really feel like dealing with it right now. You really have to show, compassion to the things. Like for me, the front door was not an issue, but for her, she wanted a new front door. And I'm like, you know what? I'm fine with the front door. And then she's like, well, that's cool. If you're not man enough to do it, I'll just.
I love it. Oh, I'm going to use that with Bob.
And I'm like one of these deals. All right, I'll go fix the front door. So,
that's so cute.
Okay, I'm not man enough.
What?
Yeah.
I love
Bob,
that.
Is that what you said? Bob's like, here's the contractor's number.
I go, yeah, I'm not man enough to do that. I'm going to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch my Netflix.
He should be available sometime in December. You know, there's 9 months. You know, good luck.
That's cute.
But you know,
I
what
love
I mean?
it. I think that's great.
I think if
communication.
And the nonverbal communication, like I said, like showing the other person that you care about their stuff, showing the other person that, you know, my wife, she helps out with my laundry, and I'm like, my gosh, she doesn't have to do that. I'm a grown ass man. I can do that by myself. But she does it, you know what I mean? And you know, there's just a lot of things that I see her doing, I acknowledge, and just to be like reciprocate in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. Find a way to reciprocate non-verbally as well as verbally. Yeah. So.
Well, I have another question. What would you say is a scripture that you lean on the most? I know you said you just got back from the road. But I know a little bit about that. But when are you coming to LA? Because Bob and I, actually, maybe we can get him booked at the Canyon Club. We really need you here. Maybe you and Becky can come out. And
it's not that. If you come out and do Landstone's, I think 6 or 8 of them. So you come out, you do 8 shows in like a 2-week period, 8 different clubs around the area.
Yes.
Cool. Very cool. We can definitely look at that. You know, as far as scripture goes, so I also have a clothing line, just like everybody else, just a t-shirt line. And instead of it being like, you know, the Dave Bray Rock show and like pictures of me and all this stuff on the t-shirts and stuff, I wanted to do something beyond me, and that would help me carry my mission. So even if people didn't like maybe me personally, they would look at the shirt and be like, yeah, but cool shirt, you know what I mean, or whatever. Mm-hmm. So again, it all started for me was to put on the armor, you know what I mean? So continuously every single day, if you're going to get dressed, make sure you're getting dressed with, you know, some spirituality and some faith in you. So you know,
the armor is the helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, the shield of faith, the sword of the spirit, the belt of truth, and the sandals of peace.
Yeah. It's also the Brave Day USA t-shirt.
Yes, it is. I'm going to get one. Let's order one. Let's wear one. Okay.
So there's some really cool stuff on there. And the idea was to actually like physically put something on. And it all started with this shirt I made that had just a star cross. So it's the same cross that you'll see in the middle of our flag, the middle of the 50 stars. You'll see it goes 3 across and 4 down. And that star cross is something that I used to stare at when I was saying the pledge as a little kid. And I wanted to put it on a t-shirt because I wanted it to put on the armor. And when I did that, very similar to the person that, yo, dude, where's the Eagles swag? You know what I mean? Bob back there.
Yeah.
You know, you're rooting, you're wearing your team. You better be representing the Eagles. EAG.
Well, mine's the Flyers, but yeah, I agree. Orange and black.
Yeah, right. When you're wearing your Flyer swag, or when you're wearing your Eagles swag for the birds down there, you're looking for other people to acknowledge you in some way, shape, or form, right? And you carry yourself. I'm Flowers ready, or I'm Eagles ready today. You know what I mean? Let's talk smack. Let's go through the Rambo stuff. Whatever we got to do.
I do that out here. I do it wherever I am. I see a Phillies hat. I go up, fill it Phillies. You know,
Yeah. So the idea was to do the same thing with Christ and say, "This I am Team Christ. This is me, and I'm wearing it right here on my chest." And as you do that, you change as a person. Like the guy who was in too much of a hurry. And needed to get to the post office, check his post office thing, needed to run the grocery store, needs to do this, needs to do that, needs to do all these other things and get these chores done during the day. Sometimes puts his head down and forgets that anybody else is even in the world. But the guy who goes out there and puts on the armor is actually still looking around and being respectful of other people around them. And my wife even tells me, she's like, you need to lift your head up, Dave. She's like, you're bulldozing through life. I'm like, oh, gotcha. I know exactly what she means, because I will. I have a tendency to be that just super type A, get out of my way guy. And when I put on this shirt, for whatever reason, I started feeling different. I felt like I was carrying myself differently. I was holding doors for people, and not just little old ladies, but other people, and making eye contact, engaging, and trying to be a positive thing in society. And the more I started wearing these different shirts, I had a couple different ones that came out that expressed my faith. The more I started acting just differently. And then other people would pick up on it. Man, I love that shirt in a grocery store line. And that I wouldn't be like, well, let me tell you about my friend, Jesus Christ. It would be like, hey, thank you very much. I was like, I appreciate that. I got a lot of really cool comments about it. He's like, man, where do I get one? Where do I get one? Here's a card. You know what I mean? And it started turning into, I think people recognize it when they see it, when they see somebody that's walking in the light and walking the walk, so to speak. I think they see it and they want it, and they want to be a part of it. So
yeah, definitely.
I would say that's my favorite scripture.
Awesome. Bray, you have Music on a Mission, which is number 6 on the iTunes rock charts, right? As it jumped up before. Yeah, okay. And Last Call, I highly recommend. I'm going to download that on my phone when we get done here. I didn't get a chance before this, but the song The Last Call, which is a tribute to our police, is so beautiful, and we just can't thank you enough. We do have a couple questions before you go. They're quick. And I'm just so grateful that Becky said yes. So I love your wife. Tell her I love her and thank you.
Wait, said yes to me or said yes to doing the podcast?
Actually, both, because if she not said yes to you, we probably wouldn't be here either. So thank you, Becky. I'm shouting out to Becky. But yes to the podcast, because I'd really just reached out on Instagram because I do follow you and I love your work. And she did reply immediately. So she's great.
And your Instagram handle is deceivingly masculine.
Is
just
it?
For the record? Yeah. Well, I thought it was a gentleman asking me to be on a podcast just because of the way.
Oh, because my name, Cory Oliver 1. Yes, Cory is technically a unisex name. But you're right. That's so funny. And I'll have to put a purple
Cory
heart
Oliver
or something.
1, I'm a girl.
Yeah. I think I was like, thanks, bro. I'll be definitely want to do your podcast, dude.
I know, but it was quick, and I really appreciate your time. Timely response. So, having said that, just 3 words. Use 3 words?
She's reading a sign on the wall because she gets this wrong every time.
I get it wrong every time, Dave, because I'm dyslexic.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Describe 3 words that describe you, Dave Bray. Tell us 3 words that you didn't finish that
I'll
sentence.
write the whole sentence out for you next time.
I know. Yes. Tell us 3 words that describe Dave Bray.
3 words. Passionate, I think, is one. I'm very passionate about my music. I'm passionate about my family. I'm passionate about my faith. I think another one would be weak. I'm also weak in so many places in my life that I recognize those weaknesses. I see those weaknesses every day. They haunt me. And, my weakness in my ability to play a guitar, my weakness in my ability to be a better scholar and a better learned man and, a better man of faith. And then there is another one that I'm trying to put my finger on, but it is even. So I think even is another word for me.
Balanced?
I would say balanced, even, but even meaning I'm as passionate about the things that I love as I am about the things that I maybe don't love. I don't know that, but those are the 3 words that come to mind. Weak in a sense, and some, I would love to say that I'm strong, but I balance those 2 very, very easily. I think that's what makes my life very even. It takes a long time to get me.
We are into our 30 plus episodes. I have asked this to every person, and you're the first person who's been strong enough to say they're weak.
That's right. Literally, I'm holding back the tears on that one. That you've got the whole. That's
which
amazing.
Is odd because that makes you not weak.
Well, that's just a beautiful thing when you can actually, here I go. Sorry. That's a good one. You're right. I know.
I don't know if even works though. I don't know if that's the right word, and I don't think balanced is right either. There's just something about what is a pool of water at rest, sort of awaiting and anxious at the same time. I can't put my finger on the right word. It's
when you said that, I see this pendulum. How it goes like this.
What is it when you find, I guess, Zen, like a thing of Zen?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think somewhere in there is that contentment to say that you're weak and not really care, and so
that's good. No, that's really beautiful. I love that. We usually ask our guests who their celebrity crush is, but I'm actually crushing on Becky because she's so fantastic, which is your wife.
Yeah, she's my
celebrity crush.
She's your celebrity crush.
Who's Becky's celebrity crush?
Who's Becky's celebrity crush?
Oh,
I'd say Dave Bray, USA.
Just like, Russell Crowe.
No, I'm sure she. I feel like I should know this one. I know she gets a little smitten by some of the typicals. But I don't know who her number one is.
That's so great.
But my celebrity crush, my kids, man. My kids are rock stars. When you
mine too. That's serious. Honestly,
they're amazing. On the soccer field, they're amazing. They are straight A students. Their teachers right back. My goodness, these kids are so respectful. Wow, you know what I mean? And they're just my kids are my rock star crushes.
He's the kind of guy where if he said, "Cory, get in the car," you go, "Okay."
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But what's amazing is that's, I always say to people when they have young kids, because mine's 22, almost 22, children spell love Time. And if you've put the time in, that's the result of what, most parents get is that respect, and you're doing that right. You've got that great foundation, but it sounds like you came from a great foundation as well. So you're carrying on the would it be legacy, I guess, right?
Yeah. I did. Well, I had a very, very loving family, so blessed.
Well, you just blessed us today, and I can't thank you enough for saying yes, and your wife for saying yes, and I will continue to follow you on Dave Bray USA. Please send us an email when you are coming. Hopefully maybe we can help schedule 8 shows, and we'll all get together for dinner or something. Yeah, we're in California. Cool. And if your wife comes and you guys need a place to stay, you can stay with me. And please, if you're listening, get Music on a Mission on iTunes and definitely download Last Call. It is just amazing. And watch the YouTube video on that too, because it's a beautiful video. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate you, and God bless you. And we just pray protection over you as you travel. And we thank you for all the work that you're doing.
I appreciate it, guys. And again, if anybody wants to find out more, it's davebrayusa.com. And I know that you're a faith-driven patriot as well, so you got to check out the Amazing Grace video. And you Battle of Gettysburg. There's some images from there. God Bless America is on there. I mean, there's some really great stuff. Better Man's on there. So the YouTube channel is really impressive. And again, thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you,
Dave. You're very welcome. And we're out.
Hi guys, I'm Cory Oliver, and thank you for watching the Coriolis Effect. We hope you enjoyed the previous episode. Here are some more episodes you might enjoy. Hit the subscribe button below, and have a great day.